as we get set for Tissot sprint action here at the Pertamina Mandalika circuit. Round 15 of 20, the title chase well and truly underway. 6 races coming your way in the next 7 weekends, with just 3 points covering the top 2 riders in this epic and ever-changing title fight. Pecco Bagnaia leads the way, but he has his work cut out after this morning we saw 2 of the most dramatic 15-minute qualifying sessions we have seen for a good number of time. Luca Marini came out on top of Q2, having come through Q1 with an all-time lap record. The battered and bruised Italian, 3 weeks out of fracturing his left collarbone in the Tissot sprint in our first visit to the Bud International Circuit in India. He then delivered a showstopper, a barnstorming lap of 1:29.978, the first rider to find a sub-90 second lap around this 4.3 kilometre Mandalika circuit, but that does not tell half of the tale. Pecco Bagnaia, the world champion, without a win in the last 4 rounds. He did not make it out of a tricky Q1, pipped by Marini, and of all people, his teammate Enea Bastianini on his injury return. Pecco Bagnaia starts from a lowly 13th place on the grid, his worst qualifying in 19 Grand Prix since Japan last October. His first time he's not featured in Q2 in 30 races since Portimao in 2022. Marco Bezzecchi, third in the World Championship. He starts from 9th. And another one of our big contenders, one of our big hitters, the in-form Jorge Martin. Well, he has not had a drama-free Super Saturday here as well in Mandalika. He goes from 6th, hoping to continue this golden streak in the Tissot sprint. Can he make it 4 on the spin? He crashed at turn 16 in Q2 this morning. So did Marco Bezzecchi, who completes row 3. It was intense, it was dramatic, it had us on the edge of our seats. I'm sure the 13-lap Tissot sprint coming up in about 20 minutes' time is going to throw up more thrills and spills as we move into the business end of this year's MotoGP World Championship. Matt Burton, Lewis Sutterby in the commentary box. Simon Crayfart, as always, down in pit lane. Lewis, those 2 50-minute sessions this morning, as we mentioned, you could write a book on what happened in MotoGP this morning. It was kind of the tale of this epic season, this incredible title battle that's unfolding between the likes of Bagnaia, Martin and Bezzecchi. And our 3 title contenders have all had a very, very tricky Saturday so far.
It's difficult to remember, as you say, a Saturday morning or a qualifying session with so much drama, so much tension and so much on the line. It twisted this way and that between our 3 title contenders. Pecco Bagnaia, of course, dropping out of qualifying 1, a rarity. In fact, the first time we've seen that in 2023. Jorge Martin, as soon as that happened, Jorge Martin was shown on screen and he looked tense, didn't he, in the Prima Pramac box, and that seemed to bear out on what we saw from Martin in qualifying 2 with that crash early on. Ended up securing 6th on the grid, which I'm sure Pecco Bagnaia would have settled for when he dropped out of qualifying 1. Of course, there was the Bezzecchi drama too, which has been going on even before we arrived here in Indonesia. All 3 title contenders with question marks hanging over their heads coming into this 13-lap sprint.
The first time in 2023 that a front row has not featured one of Bagnaia, Martin or Bezzecchi. In fact, it's the first time since last year's Japanese Grand Prix, well over a year ago, that one of our top 3 riders has not started from the front row of the grid. It's a front row led by Luca Marini. His heroics this morning were quite astonishing. A 1:30.383 was a stunner to get him through Q1 in P1, and then he went even 4 tenths faster in Q2. As you mentioned, it's been a tough proposition this weekend for Luca just to get his leathers on as he recovers from that badly damaged left collarbone he suffered in the Tissot sprint, a rather controversial friendly fire incident on his teammate Bezzecchi in the Bud International Circuit. Marco Bezzecchi then, he has got tough work. What lies in store in this 13-lapper for Bez? 9th place on the grid. 7 days ago. This time last week he was lying in agony on the floor at the VR46 training ranch with a fracture to his right collarbone. A stunning return. He only arrived in Lombok actually yesterday morning just before 8 a.m. local time. Well, maybe he will give the gloves if he finds a way to podium in this Tissot sprint, but it has been eventful to say the least for the 24-year-old Italian. A crash in turn 11 at the end of FP1 yesterday, and he was on the floor at turn 16 this morning. That means Bezzecchi for the 7th time this year has qualified outside the top 6, but there was some Mandalika magic from this man this morning, Lewis. His first ever pole position in MotoGP, and boy did he do it in some style.
Well, it was difficult to see a result like that coming before the weekend got underway, given the obvious physical limitations that Luca Marini must have coming to this weekend, of course, following that collarbone injury sustained 3 weeks ago. But even this morning, waking up, it felt like a bit of a pipe dream for Luca Marini to take pole position. He had to go through that heavyweight Q1, of course, which Pecco Bagnaia was unable to advance from. And a 1:29.978. The Aprilias have looked in supreme form so far this weekend. We thought they were heading for a 1-2 on the grid. They hadn't bargained for the incredible pace of Marini.
First pole position since the Catalunya round in Moto2 in 2020. Only Pecco Bagnaia now this season has started on the front row more times than 26-year-old Italian Luca Marini. It's been a sensational weekend so far for Muni VR46 with their battered and bruised boys in action here this weekend. It's been a great weekend so far for the factory Aprilia team. Every session they've been inside the top 3. Maverick Vinales and Aleix Espargaro, they do go from the front row. There's a special helmet here this weekend for Enea Bastianini, who did his teammate no favours this morning, did he, when he found that late lap to get himself into Q2. Just mentioning the factory Aprilias and how good they've looked around the fast and flying section of this Mandalika circuit. Low grip as well, which they've always excelled in over the last couple of years. Maverick Vinales goes second, Aleix Espargaro third. Let's get some pre-sprint thoughts from their team manager, Paolo Bonora, who joins Simon. Good afternoon, guys.
Yeah, good afternoon. Paolo, it's damn hot here, and your machine traditionally, we've thought, doesn't like the heat, but wow, they both look fantastic in the hands of both Aleix and Maverick.
So yeah, we did a very great job. So until now, we achieved the first row with the second, third position on the grid. So since Wednesday, our rider feel good in this track, because we thought about it. It is a good layout for us. We did a good race pace, and looking forward to see what happened in the sprint.
Paolo, I hope it all continues to come together. Best of luck.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Paolo Bonora. Just a third Aprilia front row for Maverick Vinales. All of them have been from second place as he looks to get himself back on a sprint podium, the 28-year-old. And just a third front row of the season for Aleix Espargaro, of course. His last front row led to a weekend of utter domination in front of his home crowd in Catalunya, where he did the win double, the sprint on Saturday, and then the full feature Grand Prix. This man then, Pecco Bagnaia, the 26-year-old Italian, has been at the summit of this MotoGP World Championship in 2023 since his victory out of Q1 on that occasion as well at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. But this pressure has been building. He's been under siege of late from Jorge Martin, who comes into this Tissot sprint in Mandalika, having not finished lower than second in his last 6 events. 5 wins in the last 6 as well. 106 of the last 111 points have gone the way of Martin. And will he seize the lead? Will he have the initiative going into tomorrow's 27-lap Indonesian Grand Prix? If he does so, it'll be the first time the Prima Ducati star has led the MotoGP World Championship. There is so much at stake in this 13-lap sprint coming up shortly.
And of course, so much will hinge on the opening lap of this 13-lap sprint coming up, of course, as Bagnaia and Martin will certainly be looking to get their elbows out and get aggressive on this opening lap to try and make up as much ground as possible on the opening lap of this sprint. It is a tricky circuit to overtake on, particularly through the second sector. It is pretty much one line through there. It's fast and it's flowing. It's thrilling to ride around, but it's not easy to overtake on. And of course, track surface that's been resurfaced and is giving up good grip, but doesn't get used an awful lot. So off the racing line, it is quite dirty and dusty, and of course you're likely to have to go off the racing line to pull off some of those overtakes. So your biggest opportunity is likely to come on the first lap. So Bagnaia from 13th and Martin from 6th, with of course Bezzecchi in between them, will look to try and make up as much ground as they can early on, particularly in that charge down to the first corner.
A new experience then for Luca Marini as he comes to the front of a MotoGP field for the very first time in his career. This is start number 51 in the Premier Class. For the Italian, of course, brother to the GOAT, 9 times world champion Valentino Rossi, I'm sure is up pretty early in Europe to watch his boys in action. Just a little footnote as well, a reminder, of course, after his collision with Marco Bezzecchi in that Tissot sprint in India a few weeks ago, in tomorrow's full Indonesian Grand Prix, Luca Marini will have to serve a long lap penalty at some point from pole position. And also we remind you as well, he starts 11th in this sprint, the returning Ducati Novo colleague of this man, Pecco Bagnaia. Bastianini, of course, he has a long lap penalty hanging over from his instigating that multiple rider pile-up at turn 1 in Catalonia. So Enea Bastianini, another rider that will have a long lap penalty to serve tomorrow in the Pertamina Grand Prix of Indonesia.
Yeah, I was going to mention that regarding Marini. This sprint surely is his best opportunity for 2 reasons. The first of them, as you mentioned, the fact that tomorrow he has the long lap penalty to serve, but also you feel from a physical point of view, the longer the race distance is, the tougher he's going to find it. 27 punishing laps ahead tomorrow, so you surely feel Marini's best opportunity is the 13-lap sprint coming off here this afternoon, with 12 points on offer for the winner.
You could see there the heavy strapping, the heavy taping around that recovering left shoulder. As you mentioned, he said yesterday it was a big effort just to get into his leathers and put his gloves on. It sounds incredibly painful, in a lot of discomfort as well. Luca Marini, it could be a long 27 laps for him tomorrow, particularly as well in this energy-sapping heat. It is sizzling down there on the grid. Ambient temperature around 35 degrees. Now then, we've already had probably too much drama that the Ducati Novo team were hoping for this morning, with Pecco Bagnaia not coming through Q1. He starts 13th place on the grid, trying to protect that narrow 13-point lead over Jorge Martin in this Tissot sprint. Let's get some thoughts of Ducati Corsa sporting director Paolo Ciabatti, who joins Simon.
Yes, he does. Paolo, that qualifying was not at all what I expected, and I really want your thoughts on what's happened and what you hope for the race.
Well, as you said, it was not what we wanted, what we expected, and it is what it is eventually. Pecco, actually his lap time was good. If you consider with that lap time in Q2, it would be maybe 5th or 6th, but anyways, he was out of the Q2. Now we need to see. Hopefully we made some changes on the bike, and hopefully work in the race. Hopefully can get a good start and try to catch as many positions as possible. There is not much more to say, except happy to have Luca Marini in pole position with the Ducati. He did a great job, a fantastic lap time. And for Pecco, he knows that we cannot lose many points in this race, and hopefully, as I said, he can do a good race and save as much as possible from the guys in front.
Thank you, Paolo.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Paolo Ciabatti. Thanks, Simon. He just has lost his way of late, hasn't he? Bagnaia just can't find that sweet spot again on that GP23. 59 points he surrendered to Jorge Martin in the last 4 rounds. It has gone a little bit awry of late for the reigning world champion. We're about to find out. He's been telling us, hasn't he, behind the scenes, no problem. We know he's a nice, cool customer. I can handle the pressure. Not a worry about Jorge Martin's brilliant late form. Well, we're about to find out how he can handle the pressure that has been building from Jorge Martin, who's going to start this Tissot sprint in 6th place. He fell at the end of Q2 at turn 16. There was drama as well in Q1 for his teammate Johan Zarco, who fell at high speed at turn 11 at the end of Q1. Let's get some thoughts from their team manager, Gino Borsoi, who joins Simon.
Gino, Jorge didn't achieve the lap time I'm sure you know he can do, but can he pull it off in the race?
Well, as we know and everybody saw in the last races, he is one of the best riders on start. So let's see if today is again and he can show again his speed on start, and then we have to manage the pace. Our fighting is not with, of course, with Aprilia, because they are maybe in the pace a bit more fast than us. We have to understand where Pecco is, and especially Bezzecchi, because they are our fighting. So we don't need to think about if Aprilia is in front of us to try to win the race.
Thank you, Gino. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Simon, thanks to Gino Borsoi. You can just sense, can't you, the voice of Paolo Ciabatti and Gino Borsoi as we edge closer to the pivotal phase of this year's World Championship. You just get a sense for the first time, Lewis, that everybody connected to Ducati, Prima Pramac and Ducati Lenovo, they're just starting to feel that build-up of pressure. This is the biggest prize in motorcycle racing. They all want it. They've been dreaming of it since they were kids, especially Jorge Martin. But for me, this is the first time where I felt you can cut the tension, cut the atmosphere with a knife.
Well, Davide Tardozzi looked like he could barely watch this morning during qualifying. So big the tension was, particularly during qualifying one, of course, when both of his riders were battling for one spot in Q2. And I get the feeling with Jorge Martin as well. This is the first time really this season, arguably in Japan, but certainly here, where Jorge Martin has something to lose. He's been chasing Pecco Bagnaia ever since that Spanish Grand Prix so far this season. He's now in a position where he's in a genuine position to take the World Championship lead. Can he handle the pressure? Slightly better than he did in Q2 this morning.
As you mentioned, it was Magic Marini this morning here in Mandalika. What a sensational pole position that was for the Muni VR46 rider. What can Marco Bezzecchi do coming from the back of the third row? Let's get some quick pre-sprint thoughts from the boss, Pablo Nieto, who's with Simon.
Pablo, both your riders injured, collarbones plated, doing an incredible job. What do you hope for from pole position?
Yeah, it's one of the poles that you don't believe it until this thing happens, no? But anyway, I think we are making a very good job. Now it's another story, because in the end it's our race. It's true that it's the sprint race, it's only 13 laps, but it's going to be really, really hard for both riders.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. Yeah, after what's been a tricky day for the factory Ducati team in particular, they can wrap up the Constructor Championship here this afternoon, the sprint. Maybe they might have to wait for that tomorrow, but it looks like at least one prize will be going back to Borgo Panigale in 2023. Certainly looks like the Team Championship and the Rider Championship will be going back to Borgo Panigale as well, but will it be in the hands of this man, Jorge Martin, seeking history? Can he be the first independent team rider to capture the MotoGP crown? Will Pecco Bagnaia be the first Ducati rider to successfully defend the championship? Or can Marco Bezzecchi gate crash the party? Didn't think we'd be saying this, did we, coming into this Tissot sprint here? Jorge Martin 6th, Pecco Bagnaia 13th place on the grid. Jorge Martin, I suppose at least, Lewis, he's going to see some of his rear tyre for a change in the Tissot sprint, because in the last three, Misano, India and Japan, he has led every single lap and taken the full house, all 36 points. He may well still take some stopping this afternoon, but you do feel pre-sprint you've got to look at Viñales and Aleix Espargaro. The two factory Aprilias have looked superb all weekend.
Yeah, although Martin has been the sprint superstar in recent times and in 2023 as a whole, nobody has won more sprints this year than Jorge Martin. The Aprilias do appear to have the superior pace. They've been the riders who have immediately jumped to our attention through every practice session we've seen so far, although this rider here on screen has been doing a phenomenal job so far this weekend. Fabio Quartararo goes from 4th on the grid. He did feel the slightly stiffer construction of the Michelin tyres here this weekend might well limit the advantage that the Ducatis in particular have over him, because qualifying has been a particularly difficult session through 2023 for Quartararo. 4th on the grid, based on what we've seen so far this weekend, is not a surprise. He's been around that sort of region all weekend. So can Quartararo challenge for what would be a second sprint podium of the season here this afternoon?
Yeah, top job by Quartararo so far this weekend. His equal best qualifying performance of the season with Assen. So what can the man who was the fastest rider around Manalika in the wet Grand Prix here 18 months ago? Marc Marquez was one of several high-profile fallers at the end of Q2 in that tricky turn 16, trail breaking in. Marc Marquez, who has been hogging the headlines, certainly off circuit this weekend. He goes from the middle of that third row 8th place, behind the man who is taking the seat of in the Gresini Racing Team next season, Fabio Di Gianantonio, who, despite at the moment having a very uncertain future, not sure whether he's got a seat in MotoGP or in this paddock next season, Digia has been doing a superb job. He turned 25 earlier this week, and he's done a great job to give himself a belated birthday present, because he starts from the head of that 3rd row in 7th place. He's qualified top 8 in 3 of the last 5, has Digia. Shot window time for the Italian, and he's doing a pretty damn good job of it, to be fair.
I'd argue he's in the best form of his MotoGP career. As you say, his recent qualifying performances have been outstanding, and a pair of 8th places in Japan. So if he's trying to make his case for a place in MotoGP next season, he's doing a fine job.
So your front row for this 13-lap Tissot sprint here in Indonesia. 3rd place to Aleix Espargaro. Can he make it another Tissot sprint win after his brilliance in Catalonia? Alongside him on that front row is his Factory Aprilia teammate Maverick Vinales, but for the first time in his MotoGP career, after a sensational record-breaking performance this morning in Q2, it's Luca Marini who fires away from pole in Mandalika.